I'm gonna switch things up and talk about a specific scenario in particular, and it's sort of about how to deal with rejection, where you're socially aware of certain things and how certain things go. I remember there was a scenario that happened 3 months ago, and again, this isn't a really proud moment. I talked about it before on this channel, and it was about a time I had snapped at a girl when I had asked her out. She said yes initially, but then when I went and DM'd her, the yes turned into a no. And a couple months later, after that had happened, I went and basically went off on her, saying that, accusing her of messing with me and kind of painting her as like some villain. And and it was out of ignorance at the time. And I feel like one thing that I could tell a guy who wants to be upset over this kind of thing and thinks that it's such a bad thing, I feel like the only time you should be upset, or the only case scenario where you should be upset over this kind of thing happening, is if the world legit just isn't as messed up as it is. Because we live in a messed up world, and messed up things happen. And the reason why, people do that is because of, the messed up things that tend to happen to women in this world. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to get this video taken down. Sometimes in order to avoid certain cases, you kind of have to like lead them on a bit and sort of just, kind of keep them happy and, make sure nothing really happens in that situation badly. You kind of have to like play along and humor them for a bit until you're actually at a distance. And this isn't really an offensive thing that's going on. It's more of a defensive thing, really, because of course they could have also just as easily have insulted you when they realized what was going on. And that same thing kind of happened with a girl who I was talking to, and this was a cashier at a Quick Trip at the time. I'm not gonna like say what her name is, of course. I think I'm gonna just call her I don't know, what should I call her? Maria. I'll just call her Maria. And what ended up happening with Maria is that I think this was somebody I had been talking to at the Quick Trip at first, and she had at first like talked to me and said that she recognized me from the parties that I had been going to a lot that year. And I got excited because it's like, oh shit, she there's somebody who recognizes me, who works and potentially lives close to me. And I viewed it as an opportunity of sorts to kind of form a connection in that way. And we've been talking after every now and then, and I've been trying to meet her at parties. I think I tried to meet her at one, but I either didn't recognize her or she showed up right when I left. I hope it wasn't the first one. And then I had kept asking if she was gonna go to this one and the other one, and then I think that was when I was starting to notice that she was getting a bit more distant and cold. She wasn't waving at me. She wasn't talking to me as much, and it was until I asked her what was going on and if she was okay. She said, yeah, she was just sick. So I was like, okay, cool, she was sick. That nothing's wrong, because she was sick and it wasn't me. She was just not feeling well, under the weather essentially, but still wanted to go to work. Okay, you know what that is? That's copium at the time. I was putting copium in my head because I had the feeling, I got the signals at first, but I had to put the copium in my head thinking, okay, yeah, maybe she was just sick. But again, I should have been able to tell too that it was just her just not being blunt, because the only time I'd been talking to her was when she was at work and in uniform. So it would kind of be like this whole thing where I'm really only talking to, this person who has to kind of radiate the energy of niceness that comes with being a cashier that you kind of have to have. So it's just one of those things where she didn't want to be blunt. But I think it was also just, okay, not wanting to be blunt and, risk some drama happening in the middle, making her day worse than it probably either was or wasn't going to be, or was going to be, either way, it depends on the day. And also just being dependable on, just hoping nothing dangerous happens, going back to, that stuff, because again, I was ignorant to this at first, but I think when I talked to her again and she just said that she was sick, I was like, oh, okay. And then I decided to instantly ask her out to a pizza place just as a date at first. Well, okay, I technically do this thing where I don't call it a date, and it could just be like a meetup or something, and see if they're down. And then she said she was down, and I ended up getting super excited. I got my hair done and was doing a bunch of stuff, and I talked to her, and she doesn't end up saying anything, and I talked to her again for a time, and then, nothing, seen message and everything. And then I'm beginning to kind of get the signals that, okay, things are probably not working out. And I say no. And then I just ask her, okay, why isn't she? I just ask her why she's not saying anything. And she just says that, okay, no, I just don't want to go. And and immediately afterwards, I just ask, okay, are you fine? What's going on? She's like, oh, no, 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 I'm fine. I just don't want to go. Well, she didn't say that at the end, but still, she just said, oh, no, I'm fine. And okay, that kind of told me everything I needed to hear in that situation, because then that showed me that, okay, maybe it was definitely me. And I feel like if I had legit just not said anything, I don't think she would have really cared to talk to me again that much. And that kind of hit me with a certain degree of reality. I just apologized and, said, okay, if it was something I said, then fine. And then I just deleted the chat and moved on. If I had just ended it with that too, well, even I apologize if it was something I said. I probably shouldn't have done that either. But if I had just, said, okay, deleted the chat, move on, then I think that would have been fine. But a couple months later, and this is when I was kind of going through it a bit, and I decided to kind of do this whole social media detox thing where I just delete all my social media. I was thinking about actually just throwing my phone into a ravine, but I realized, nah, that's too hardcore, and there's stuff I need my phone for still. So no, let me not throw my phone into a ravine. Let me just delete Instagram, delete TikTok, delete Twitter, and just try and stay drama free. And the thing is, the moment I reinstall the app, and at the end of the day, this wasn't even something bad happening to me, but this was my choice. It was a sucky choice. I chose to go off on her in the DM saying that she was messing with me and that she, was not being truthful and that she was a liar and that she wasn't being blunt, and just trying to come down on her and patronize her as some horrible person when I didn't really know the reality of the whole situation, really. And I was sort of ignorant to certain social things at the time and didn't know really why she felt the need to do that too. And until I went and saw a couple videos on YouTube, and then that kind of clicked to me what was going on. But even then, at that time, I still felt like it was unnecessary. But then it was a bit unnecessary because, again, I lived and worked very close to that Quick Trip. So, it's why would I do that though? I wouldn't, but why would I do that too? That would have been so suicidal if I did that. But at the end of the day, you can't really assume somebody's personality. You can't really be sure on where somebody's sanity is at the moment too. Even though logically it's okay, yeah, I live and work close to there, so yes, if I was a sane person, which I am, I would not have done anything. And I wouldn't have given myself the choice of embarrassing myself in any kind of way like that and risk getting arrested and fired from my job. At the end of the day, you can't really be sure about people's sanity. With all these fucking mass shootings that's been going on and stuff, it's scary. It's scary. I should have never exploded onto her like that, and it wasn't nice. I was kind of giving myself more cope for me doing it. Okay, I didn't curse, I didn't call her any names, I wasn't doing this, but I was clearly being upset. And at the end of the day, was I more upset that she lied, or was I more upset that she rejected me too? Because I feel like the only time you should really be upset with someone for lying to you is if you have a very close and if you've already established a connection with that person and that there's an established mutual trust, that's broken. And most of the times that none of that was there with us. So she didn't have that like mutual trust or understanding to really, warrant like me getting mad at her for lying. There was none of that, and there's nothing that warranted any kind of like mutual trust or like made me entitled to her telling the truth, because she didn't know me that well. She didn't trust me. She doesn't even, like, hell, like this whole time, that whole time we were talking, she didn't even know my last name or my first name even. So that kind of says enough. That said enough about that situation. But I was sort of ignorant to the whole thing and didn't get it. And I viewed it more as an offensive thing than a defensive thing, even though it was the latter. And it was just a bad thing. And I think it was different videos I saw. First, it was I was planning to go to a con, but, I got screwed up with money that whole time. And then there's this other trip that I have to go on right now that blows that whole con out of the water that I have to save up for. And, just a bunch of stuff going on. So I didn't get to go to the con. And I was looking up con safety videos, and the person who was in the video I was watching was a woman. And they mentioned that, okay, that one tactic that you have to have is to kind of lead them on and be a bit like nice at first, like in person with them. But once they leave, stay away from them. Don't engage, and then like kind of tell them from a distance, because you don't know what's gonna happen. And to like legitimately just not care if it's fake and so on and so forth, because at the end of the day, as I said, they don't know the person and they don't have an established relationship and mutual trust for that to be a thing too. And again, I've seen so many videos now. Granted, I've mostly seen white dudes doing this, but actually no, I think I did see a black dude doing this and doing it too in a couple of videos. Shit. But yeah, there are videos of a dude shooting a shot with a woman talking to her. She kind of shoots him down and says, "No, leave me alone," or whatever. And, the guy just immediately knocks her out. And, it's so disturbing. And there's so many videos of this that's out there. Like, if you look at a shock site and just look up guy hits girl for rejecting him, or guy pushes girl for rejecting him, it's kind of in that same thing. And I think that's what there's a fear for, is because you don't know people's sanity at the end of the day. And, I think that was what she was worried was going to happen. Or even if it wasn't that, or because that's an extreme, go on Twitter and follow the incel replies or incel pickup lines. And most of the stuff you see are dudes just acting super nice, and the moment they sense even a small form of rejection, like the girl stops answering after a while or something, the dude immediately switches up and starts to insult her and be mean to her and call her a bitch and this, that, and the other, and just be a mean person compared to what they were trying to portray themselves as to this person, until they realized that they got rejected. There was this one YouTuber, Papa Gut, who actually said that, okay, yeah, maybe women do need to be more blunt, but no, they don't have to be, because I think it's one of those cases where it's like, okay, they're in fear of something happening. So I feel like what the best bet is, publicly, like if it's in a public place, then yeah, say yes, but then just leave and don't talk to them again, and that things will be safe for you that way. But I get it. But I think he mentioned more in a case of just being in your house and stuff. In the case of okay, being invited out, actually going out and being invited to your house and that kind of thing, instead of being asked out, because that's a different situation altogether. Maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong. Who knows? At the end of the day, it's best to just say nothing. Just say, okay, I'm sorry, or whatever. Delete the chat so you don't think about it or get that much of an impulse to go back, and don't say anything, don't do anything from there, because what I did probably proved a lot of the points that she had in her head. And now there's a high chance that I cannot set foot in that quick trip again. Not that it matters though, because there's actually I moved, and there's actually a quick trip that's super close to me here, so it doesn't really matter all that much. But what's going on is that, okay, let's say I have to visit my grandfather because that place I lived in belonged to my grandfather. So let's say I had to visit my grandfather for some reason, and we were spending a whole day there or something. And I was feeling hungry. I was like, oh hey, go get us something at like the Walmart or the Quick Trip. It's like, yeah, I have to go to the Walmart. I have to pick the Walmart or the Shell. I cannot pick the Quick Trip because, she most likely, there's a high chance that, and this is what like made the situation way more sucky, is that there's a high chance that she possibly told people what I did. And, that's never good. That's never good. That is never good. That's all I've got to say for that topic so far. Bye.